welcome to my podcast, The Melancholy Guy Talks. And right now, I'm talking about recovery, living with addiction. In this podcast, I'm sharing my journey through life while being an open, polyamorous African American male living in recovery. I am the Melancholy Guy, Calvin, or CPJR if you know me. And today, I definitely believe that change I must or die I will. To learn more about the Melancholy Guy, go to Instagram and click on the link in the bio. Also, with the donation of just $1, you can have access to my first series on ethical non-monogamy, the fun stuff that started my podcast journey. See my Patreon page for more info. Links in the show notes and links in the Instagram bio. So let's talk. Today's date is 4/02/2020, and it's been 75 days since I felt the need to pick up my drug. Today's episode is my first 90 days, part 7.2, episode 52, a continuation of what I started on Monday. For the remainder of March, as well as for the month of April, I will have a weekly topic that will be aired in 15-minute increments, one released on Sunday and the second half released today on Thursday. So to be sure to tune in for both. Okay, welcome back to with my regular listeners, and welcome back and welcome if this is your first time listening. So I basically use this time to talk about my journey with addiction. I used to talk about polyamory, ethical non-monogamy, but right now I decided to come clean and talk about me being an addict in recovery, and what it's like to live with addiction or live with an addiction or live in recovery. That's basically what I'm doing. So, last on the last episode, I was talking about I was I was winding up a talk that I've been having for like 7 episodes. I was talking about the first 90 days. As I've said, that this is my 75th day in recovery, and so for me, this first 90 days is something that's very important because, like I said in previous episodes, I don't feel like I'm in real recovery until I hit 90 days, and the reason that is because I don't think that for myself, it doesn't really feel like I've stopped using until the 90th day or 3 months. It's sort of like I'm back. I'm back to really feeling real emotions. I'm back to actually being in touch with myself and what's going on. So, sound like if I hit a patch and I'm feeling like I'm if I hit a patch and I feel like I'm going to relapse or use again, it's going to really feel like a relapse, and it's not just going to feel like I went out and used again. So on last week, I talked about keeping it simple, or what it is to keep simple, and I want to finish this up today. I'm going to talk about the last two parts of the steps that are recommended by addiction.com that you should incorporate in your life in the first 90 days. And I talked about last week, or on Monday, I talked about avoiding major life changes and keeping things simple so that you can actually just build up that day to day, that one day at a time. Like in recovery, one thing, if you go to meetings or anything like that, they always talk about you don't have to get high anymore. And I say it's at the end, one day at a time. So basically, if you basically concern yourself with the next 24 hours, and for me, it's like remembering what I did in the last 24 hours, right? Because like I said, I started work this week, and it's like things are changing. Life isn't going to be, even with the coronavirus, right? Life for me isn't going to be about every day looking for a job. It's going to be about having a job, maintaining a job. Now I'm building a life again. So I want to build a different life. So for me, I have to live life as simple as possible. What did I do 24 hours a day? Let's repeat that again this 24 hours so that we can keep going and build up more and more time and be stronger and stronger and have a nice and change, not just recover, actually change the things that I know that are wrong with inside me. And that's what I've been doing on a day-to-day basis. This week I want to finish out on 13th, which is number 13. which is celebrating your milestones. That's why we talk about as an addict. You hear a lot of addicts talk about how many days they've been clean, how many years, how many months. And you still hear addicts talk about I've been clean 35 years, 35 days. Because basically, as an addict or an alcoholic, you're like one day from being back. You know what I mean? Like from what I've learned and from what I've experienced, living with an addiction or living with any type of substance abuse issues, is that anytime you quit drinking or anything like that and you pick back up, you pick right back up where you left off. And sometimes, and it seems like if you had issues before, it seems to escalate really, 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 really fast. You know what I'm saying? You get right back to that fast, and something that we always say too is I don't want the bottom that I hit. I don't want to hit anything below that. You know what I'm saying? Like that rock bottom. Everybody's rock bottom's not the same. Everybody's not gonna end up in jail. Everybody's not gonna end up dead. But I don't want to end up past that rock bottom that has me doing this work now. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does to someone, because it makes a lot of sense to me. Um, as I've been living differently this last 75 days, things have really been picking up. You know what I'm saying? Really have been changing, actually kind of faster than I thought. But I set intention, and then usually when I do that, before I even started, usually when having an issue, usually when I did set intention, things really kind of took off as planned as I applied myself. So right now, the thing that I'm doing is not trying to be, my own worst enemy and get my own way. You know what I mean? Like that's basically what I'm doing right now. So celebrating milestones is important. I always do. If you follow me on Instagram, you notice I always will post something about, and I post monthly. Like I post like 30. I've been 30 days, 60 days. I post 90 days. I'm gonna post like every month, how many days, and celebrate that. My friend, my anchor partner and friend, Kimberly, she celebrates every 30 days with me too. She makes it really a special thing because it's an achievement. Just celebrate it. That gives you something to look forward to, and don't just take it for granted. Because I think the thing is though, right? And it's not this is something, if you have an addict in your life and you're like, you've been through the thing with them for a while, maybe they've been relapsed a few times in a few years. And I think that if you get to the point that you can't celebrate with them anymore, or you can't get excited if they'll start building up time, maybe you should take a break. Maybe I hate to say leave or something like that, but maybe this life isn't going to be for you. You know what I mean? Like if and I'm talking about real recovery. I'm not talking about just doing something. If an addict is really working and you really are seeing a change, take that time to really celebrate with them because they're doing some real work. And it's gonna be like important that they see that you not appreciate it, but you're actually in there working with them. Because you have some damage too, and you're actually doing the work too. So you should be celebrating yourself too. Actually, if you're doing the work, because especially if you have some codependency issues, you should be getting some help for that also. So then the last one is going to be give thanks for each day, and I just want to say that um, that gratitude part has really been um, something that I really need to look at more and more in my life because basically it's funny that this is the year 2020 that I'm like I didn't start out saying this is gonna be my year. You know what I'm saying? I basically started out January still kind of using, still thinking that I was gonna hustle through January, but then I hit a wall and I couldn't, and I had to go back to work. But luckily things start working out in my favor really quickly. Um, and I was like, oh, things were looking up because I got the job I wanted and all that kind of stuff, and the position that I wanted and the place that I wanted. And I was like, wow. And then all of a sudden we get a pandemic. And here's the thing about the pandemic. The pandemic is not going to affect. I'm blessed and privileged enough that I can work for. I'm going to be able to work my job from home for. I don't know the foreseeable future. I've already like talked to my company already, and they've already told me that I have an assigned seat, a position, a cubicle, office, whatever, in the building that I went to the interview for. we just can't work there. So I'm gonna be working from home, and I live in a home that I have internet access. Um, Kimberly has internet access, so wherever I'm at, I have internet access, and I have a computer, and these are privileges that I have to be grateful for, because if I had been um, still in the state that I was 90 days ago, 70 days ago, I definitely would have probably been contracted COVID by now, because of I wouldn't have cared. I would hate to be out there now. I feel sorry for the people that are still out there. I pray that they're getting help and not actually are I don't like to use the word social distancing. So I hope they are physically distancing themselves from other addicts getting clean. But you know what? I know they're not. That's not how addiction works. Addiction doesn't care. So all I can say is I'm very grateful that you know that I don't know what the universe, God, love, whatever you want to say, just it hit me now to do go through these steps I'm going through now, to get the job that I have now, to get hit with the pandemic and still be able to keep going. So I'm so grateful that I have to work. For me, I have to work doubly hard, just to prove that I am grateful, and definitely be and keep doing like this podcast and many other podcasts, whatever I need to do to reach out and help, the next suffering addict that's coming up behind me, because you know I have to look at that. I have been privileged in a way, to not, like some of the people that I know that are still out there, to not be able to go home, to not have any skills to be able to get another job, to have police records and felonies, stuff like that. That's gonna make it extra hard for them. So gratitude is something that is very, very, very important to me, especially in this time of what we're going through with this time. I left out. I want to start a new section, a new segment. I wanted to start a new segment. It's called Ask an Addict, and I post a question out on Instagram. For someone to DM me a question if they want. And so if you have a question that you want to ask an addict, or ask a question about addiction, I'm not an expert. I'm just somebody who is living with addiction and living in recovery, and all I can do is just share with you what's called my experience, strength, and hope. Um, so I think what I want to do, since I'm out of time, and soon the shows will probably be going for 30, 45 minutes. I will have more time to talk about it. But I'm going to skip that part today, um, this week, and I'll bring it back next week. So, but if you're interested in, like I said, sending a question, my email address will be in the show notes. But also on Saturday, I record the shows on Sunday. But so on Saturday before I post something on Instagram asking for questions. So if you have a question about addiction, something you don't know, and you want an addict to ask me, an addict in recovery, I will be happy to ask that. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap up that part about the first 90 days. I'm not sure what I'm gonna talk about next week, but I'm sure something will come to my mind. And I'll definitely be on living in recovery, or something about an addiction. I may go start telling my story of how I got to this seat in life. But I'll definitely come back and talk about my new job and how that's going. I'd like to take time for the still suffering addicts. You don't have to reach out to me. My email address is in the show notes, or reach out to anyone just to talk. Just start talking, and you may find that you don't have to use, one day at a time, and then you can find recovery the same way that I have. Thanks for listening. Always remember to love and respect yourself first, and everything else will take care of itself. Peace and namaste.